This story starts with a nerd being kidnapped and forced to participate in a battle royale style game, but he ends up having the strongest skills, classified as SS level. Akira is a high school student who only loves two things in the entire world. The first is games, and the second is sweets. His room is messier than most things out there, and he is a total loser, with no girlfriend or friends. This doesn't bother him at all, because games are his #1 priority in life. He continues to play Tetris even on his way to school, and while waiting for the light to change, a huge man wrapped in bandages suddenly appears in front of him. The man stares at Akira with red eyes and pushes a truck that was blocking his view. The mummy-like figure quickly advances towards Akira and attacks him a few seconds after their eyes meet. Akira somehow manages to dodge the attack, but luckily there is a bicycle nearby, and he uses it to escape. However, the mummy is focused solely on him and easily keeps up with his speed. Akira panics, not knowing what to do, until he realizes that the situation is exactly like a game. If the mummy catches him, he loses, and if he manages to stop it, he wins. The first thing he does is go to an abandoned building, trying to gain an advantage with the environment. The building is old and crumbling, and the brute has difficulty walking, since the floor breaks under his weight. Suddenly, the mummy starts jumping through the holes like a frog, and Akira decides to treat it like a survival horror game. He finishes setting a trap and lures the mummy to the terrace. Up there, he had already devised a plan, and, with a simple mechanism, a huge reservoir of water falls on the mummy. Akira believes he has won. However, the mummy is still alive and jumps on him next. Akira uses his enemy's own momentum to drive an iron pipe into his chest, causing blood to gush everywhere. He celebrates winning, but a girl dressed in a business suit and cat ears appears behind him and congratulates him on surviving and killing her pet. Akira can barely process what is happening, and the girl tells him that he did well so far, but that now he faces an impossible fight. 5 seconds pass since they met, and she blows Akira's arm and side off without any warning. He falls to the ground, saying that if this was an impossible fight, then this must mean a turning point in the game. He is bleeding profusely, but believes that as long as he hasn't received a game over, he can still win next time. The girl tells him that he is right, and that the fun is just beginning. She leaves, and when Akira opens his eyes again, he finds himself in a strange room full of other people. He tries to understand what is happening and realizes that he is handcuffed, but the wound from before has completely disappeared. At that moment, the girl with cat ears makes a flashy entrance on stage. She introduces herself as Mion, their navigator, and tells everyone that they have been chosen to participate in a big project. She then announces that everyone there is officially dead in the real world, and shock takes over the group. She is about to explain more when a rude guy comes on stage demanding that she send him home immediately. Mion just smiles, thanks him for his collaboration, and opens a hole in his body. Her hand has turned into a cannon, and she happily explains to the panicked audience that this is her special ability. She says that everyone there has also received some kind of ability which will be used within the project. Mion continues explaining that their handcuffs block the use of abilities, but when the red light turns green, in 5 seconds they will unlock and the abilities can be activated. The next rule is that hurting or killing others is allowed. Mion asks if anyone has any questions and goes first to Akira. Then she questions a nerdy girl and then a delinquent-looking guy. She tells everyone that they can ask whatever they want. A big, muscular guy named Shin asks about that place and the project. Mion replies that she can't reveal that. Shin then asks why she killed the man before. Mion replies that she is a bad person who likes to kill, but a red-haired model suggests that she planned it to set an example. Mion agrees that the model is clever and moves on to the next person. This time, a girl named Yuri asks why they were chosen specifically. Mion simply says that they were all randomly selected, which Yuri finds hard to believe. At that moment, Mion's assistant appears to inform everyone that the meeting is over and that everyone will be taken to their rooms, where they can rest and test their abilities. Akira enters his room, thinking that everything really does seem like a game. He finds a letter on the table, next to a box of sweets. The letter explains that the room contains everyday items and objects that they can use their abilities on. There is also a sealed envelope with details about each person's power. Akira opens the envelope and is shocked by what he finds. He wonders how he will be able to use this ability, but soon becomes distracted by the sweets. Suddenly, the room begins to shake, and Akira realizes that someone else is using his powers. He thinks about the enemies he might face and remembers that, according to Mion's instructions, he is allowed to finish off the other participants. Soon the first program begins, with individual duels between the players. Akira enters a classroom where he finds the delinquent Madoka waiting for him. Madoka warns him to give up the fight if he doesn't want to be seriously injured by his dangerous ability. Akira refuses, saying that he will not run away from a game. The handcuffs turn green, and after 5 seconds, they can use their abilities. Madoka runs towards Akira, and the baton in his hand transforms into a sword, with which he cuts through the blackboard and desks with ease. Akira starts throwing desks at him to distract him, and mixes an eraser in the middle, creating a cloud of dust that helps him escape. Madoka follows him to a dark laboratory, where Akira throws a lamp in his direction to distract him, and then uses an improvised blowtorch to attack him by surprise. Madoka manages to disarm him and begins destroying everything while searching for him. He believes that Akira is hiding because his power is not useful in combat, but Akira appears and says that, in fact, his power is too strong, and that is why he avoids using it. Madoka does not believe him and charges forward with everything. Akira takes his hand out of his pocket, showing a feather, and says that his ability is to turn his hand into a cannon. Madoka remembers what Mion did with the cannon earlier and how there were feathers involved. In that moment of hesitation, Akira transforms his hand into a cannon and fires it, knocking Madoka against the wall. Injured, Madoka drops the sword, which turns back into a staff. Akira points the cannon at him and tells him to surrender. Madoka decides to give up. Mion watches everything from the control room and applauds Akira, who is clearly her favorite participant. His assistant asks why it took Akira so long to use the cannon, and Mion reveals that his ability is not to transform his hand into a weapon. She explains that what he did was just an illusion, and that he used her image as part of the trick. When Akira read the card with his ability, he discovered that its name was Sophism. In short, his power manifests itself according to the opponent's belief that he has it. That's why he prolonged the fight against Madoka, making the opponent believe that his ability was the cannon. Then, Akira leaves the test room escorted by 2 guards. He walks in silence, immersed in thoughts about how he can use his true power without noticing that Yuri passes by him and watches him the whole time. The next challenger is Yuri, a high school girl who hates coincidences. Her mother had a fleeting relationship with a random man and blamed her daughter, as if Yuri had ruined her destiny. Drowning in alcoholism, she barely took care of her daughter and constantly brought home men she met at the bar. Her most recent boyfriend had a young daughter, and her mother expected Yuri to take care of the girl as if it were her duty. At first, Yuri resisted, but when she realized that the child was also a victim of neglect, she decided to take on the role of older sister, even though no one had asked her to. Even so, Yuri already had enough problems on her own. In the past, she tried to help a boy who was being bullied, but what seemed like a gesture of empathy turned into a nightmare, and the boy became an obsessed stalker. On the eve of the project's start, by cruel coincidence, Yuri saw him trying to jump off a tall building. She couldn't stop herself from running to the building to try to save him, but he interpreted it as a divine sign that they were linked by destiny. Yuri climbed onto the wall on the other side of the fence to try to pull him back, but the pursuer was completely unbalanced and simply grabbed her arm and jumped, taking her with him. That's how she died in the real world and ended up inside the project. Yuri sees all this in a nightmare and wakes up screaming. She had hoped that when she woke up she would be back home, but she was disappointed to find herself still trapped in that strange room. She tried to kick the door open, saying that it was no fun at all to have been randomly chosen for something so absurd. She wanted to go back home and take care of her new stepsister, but there seemed to be no way out. She threw herself on the bed and suddenly remembered that she had also been given an ability. She opened the envelope to find out what it was, and when she tested it, she hit the wall hard, causing the tremors that had shaken Akira's room earlier. Yuri was amazed by the power she had been given and thought she could use it to break down the door and escape. However, the door turned out to be sturdier than she had expected, and her attempt failed. Soon, Yuri's opponent for the one-on-one duel was announced a muscular, repulsive guy, as if he had come out of a questionable manga. But the problem wasn't just his grotesque appearance. He claimed he could tell if a girl was a virgin just by smelling her, even from a distance of 10 feet, because that was his ability. As he approaches Yuri with a disgusting smile on his face, the countdown reaches 0. As soon as the handcuffs open, She doesn't hesitate, she spins around and kicks him straight in the face with all her strength, but unfortunately for Yuri, he likes it. The repulsion, disgust, and hatred she feels only seem to fuel him. Smiling sickly, he goes so far as to slightly lower his pants, trying to provoke her even more. Proudly, he reveals that his ability is to absorb negative emotions like fear, shame, and contempt to strengthen his own body. He advances and manages to immobilize Yuri in a brutal chokehold. As he holds her, he comments with a laugh that he has a certain admiration for girls her age, and that he was lucky to face her in the first round. But this only serves to ignite Yuri's fury. Yuri had already faced too many coincidences destroying her life, and she could no longer bear to see despicable men acting with impunity. Her eyes burning with rage, she grabbed her opponent's hand tightly and crushed it without hesitation. His scream of pain echoed through the arena. Seizing the moment, Yuri stamped her foot on the ground, sending up a cloud of dust. In the blink of an eye, she appears behind her enemy and unleashes a brutal sequence of blows, each one more precise and destructive than the last. In seconds, he is unconscious on the ground. She was only able to do this thanks to her ability, known as the Demon God, a power that multiplies all her physical capabilities by 5. Transforming anger into pure strength. Soon after, Akira wakes up to a security guard knocking on his door, informing him that it is time for the next program. He is taken to a room where Yuri, Shin, Madoka, and a monkey-faced guy are already there. As soon as Akira enters, Mion explains that the second round will be a 5-on-5 team battle and that it will start in 2 hours. That is the entire explanation, which leaves everyone dissatisfied. Akira thinks that, if they are going to work as a team, they will have to reveal their own abilities to each other. Since Madoka had already seen him using the cannon, she certainly believed that this was his true power. Akira, however, is unsure whether he should tell the truth for the sake of the group. Suddenly, the monkey-faced man takes the lead in the conversation. He introduces himself as Sawa and shows that his ability is to create a rope from a button. Yuri is extremely disappointed in him and proudly reveals her own ability. Madoka also shares hers, and Sawa begins to feel jealous of both of them. He then asks the strong Shin what his ability is, and Shin responds that he can apparently become invincible for 2 seconds, but that he does not intend to use a power that was placed inside him without his consent. Even so, he claims to be a professional fighter and knows how to fight. It is Akira's turn, and he decides to keep his real ability a secret. He tells the group that he can turn his hand into a cannon. Like Mion, Akira thinks that if he tells the wrong people the truth, he could end up dead, and that is a risk he is not willing to take with this group. Sawa insists that everyone demonstrate their powers, but Akira changes the subject of the conversation by asking Madoka if he is feeling okay after the previous fight. Sawa gets carried away by the subject and asks Madoka if he really lost the fight. Madoka tells Sawa to stop it and reveals that, after the fight, he only received some bandages and painkillers. The others start to comment that the medical care there seemed like something from the United States, but Akira is relieved that he avoided showing his true power. He's not even sure if his ability would work in front of his teammates, since the description in the letter was a bit confusing, so he intends to use the team battle as a test to better explore his power. The conversation ends, and everyone prepares for the second round. Sawa takes a more serious tone and advises the group to take every chance during the battle to eliminate the enemy. He says that they can't expect their opponents to take it easy, so the best thing to do is to reduce the competition in order to survive. They arrive at the arena where the second round will take place, and there they discover that the battle will actually be made up of individual duels, one-on-one. The first fight is between Sawa and Rin, the red-haired model. He is irritated to discover that the fight will not be a team fight, and Akira agrees. Akira understands that all that talk about teamwork was just a pretext to make the participants reveal important information that could be used against them later. Sawa and Rin enter the ring, and as soon as the handcuffs open, Rin asks Sawa to give up. She tries to convince him with sweet words, but he is suspicious and thinks she is hiding something under the loose clothing she is wearing. Rin then takes off her cape and shows that she is wearing the same provocative clothing she was wearing when she arrived. She promises to reward him with her body if he lets her win. Sawa is tempted, but refuses the offer. Even so, he pretends that his ability is too dangerous and that he does not want to use it against a woman. So, he suggests that they settle the dispute with a coin toss. Rin accepts, and he flips the coin. The moment he looks away to follow the coin in the air, she attacks him and pierces his body with sharp blades. Sawa falls to the ground and loses the fight. No one can understand what Rin's power is. The paramedics arrive, but realize that there is nothing they can do, so they decide to just get rid of the body. Yuri tries to help him, but Akira stops her, saying that it is already too late. Madoka calls Sawa useless for being careless at the end of the fight, and Yuri takes offense at this. Even Shin demands that he take back what he said, as no one should disrespect a comrade who lost his life fighting. Akira notices that the group is falling apart, so he intervenes and says that they can discuss their feelings later. But right now, they need to focus on the game. Shin has been assigned to face Ringo, a nerdy girl with a calm and confident appearance. Shin assesses the situation coolly. His plan is simple: get her out of the arena quickly, without hurting her and avoiding losing like Sawa. As soon as the handcuffs open, he shoots towards her. His movements are precise and calculated, but they suddenly stop. Ringo raises one of her hands, calm and composed. Shin instinctively retreats, expecting some kind of unexpected ability. Tension takes over the arena, but Ringo just lowers her hand and gives up the fight. The silence that follows is one of pure surprise. Ringo's power is to copy a fraction of the abilities of others, and she tried to use it on Shin. Since she didn't feel any difference, she couldn't figure out what his power was, and therefore, she preferred to give up, knowing that she wouldn't stand a chance against him. Rin didn't like this at all and started to tease her, saying that she didn't want to lose because of a teammate's mistake. Another girl, named Siko, interrupts Rin and promises that she will win the next duel to turn the tide in their team's favor. Siko's opponent is Madoka. As soon as the handcuffs are released, Siko pulls out a slingshot and fires a marble at him. She thinks she has already won, but Madoka deflects the marble, which suddenly turns into a giant wrecking ball. He then transforms his staff into a sword and charges at Siko, who continues to fire more marbles. He dodges them all. She tries to enlarge the last one before he can deflect it, but this time Madoka cuts the marble in half. In fact, his ability is not just to summon a sword, but a sword capable of cutting through anything. Siko is terrified that she will have to face someone with such a powerful ability and such fast reflexes. She can't even give up, because Rin keeps giving her menacing looks. Madoka calmly asked her to surrender, but she was so afraid of Rin that she decided to ignore it and throw all the marbles she had in her pocket at him. Madoka continued to dodge the projectiles as they grew in size, but soon found herself surrounded on all sides. The girl announced that she would use her last marble to defeat him, but Madoka cut that too. However, she had lied before and still had one more hidden, ready to hit him. Before she could throw it, her slingshot was cut off and she fell to the ground. She realized that Madoka had hidden a spare knife and thrown it at her weapon. He explained that while he was covered by the giant ball, he had broken his staff in half and turned each part into a separate weapon. He approached Siko and asked her again to surrender while he was still being kind, but she only muttered that the fight was not over yet. Madoka then noticed the marble she had dropped earlier right at his feet. Before he could react, the marble grew in size and crushed both of his weapons. The pain was so intense that he passed out, and Siko won the round. Next, Akira would face a regular opponent from the opposing team. While Shin and Yuri urged him to win at any cost, he had no intention of putting in that much effort. He was certain that even if they lost, no one would be killed and the punishments would not be too severe, so he planned to just take advantage of the fight to better understand how his ability worked. As soon as the handcuffs were released, Akira tried to activate the cannon's ability based on his teammates' belief, but nothing happened. He then turned around and told Madoka that he had let the team down by losing, so he deserved to be punished. This time, he managed to activate the cannon and fired a fake shot near Madoka, who was irritated by the provocation. Akira then understood that his ability would only activate against the opponent he was directly involved with. He pointed the cannon at his opponent, who was terrified at the possibility of losing. Akira fired, but the opponent activated his power and managed to dispel both the shot and the cannon from Akira's hand. While the man was distracted by the girls applauding him, Akira threw a shoe at his face to test his reaction time and quickly positioned himself behind him. Pointing the cannon, he demanded that he raise his hands. Akira had discovered that his opponent could nullify powers by touching the ground, but he was close enough to attack him before he could do so. The man surrendered, and Akira left the arena, where Madoka was still angry with him. Finally, it was Yuri's turn. To his utter dismay and a deep shiver of revulsion, the revealed opponent was precisely the stalker from his past. He smiled when he saw her there, as if their reunion was something special. Yuri, on the other hand, was filled with rage. Nothing mattered more at that that moment than finishing him off. The fight began. The stalker confidently declared that she could do whatever she wanted. His body was capable of completely hardening, making him, in theory, invulnerable. But that meant nothing to Yuri. Without hesitation, she focused all her rage into a single blow, a brutal, direct, merciless punch. The impact threw him violently against the wall. The fight ended there. Yuri won, but what she really wanted was not victory, but the end of that cycle. Shin commented that simply multiplying strength by 5 did not explain that result, but Akira explained that Yuri could increase all physical capabilities by 5 times, and this could produce impressive effects. At that moment, Mion appeared and announced that it was time for the third game, but before that, the losing team would be punished. The agents arrived, blindfolded everyone, and took them to another room. When the blindfolds were removed, Akira and her team were surprised to find themselves in a fancy restaurant. Mion said that this was the reward for winning, while the losers would have to dress up as bunny girls and serve the food. Akira and Madoka ate without worrying, and Rin tried to get closer to Akira, but he didn't want to get involved with a dangerous woman like her. On the other hand, he seemed to be getting closer to Yuri, and even tied his scarf to her wrist, which was injured after punching the stalker. When they finished eating, Mion told them about the third program, and the teams went their separate ways. Akira and his teammates were taken to a room where they were instructed to split up and follow the paths ahead. At the end of each path, they would receive specific instructions that they should follow. Madoka and Shin were the first to leave, saying that even if they became enemies in the next round, they all had to survive. Before Yuri left, Akira told her that the scarf was very important to him, so she had to survive and return it later. She blushed at that and ran off, promising to meet him again. However, Akira only said that to secure a bond that could be useful in the future. Akira continued on his way and, at the end, found a room with a cell phone. The handcuffs were deactivated, and the system announced that he had 100 points and needed to collect 1,000. No further explanation was given, and the door opened, leading him outside. There, he discovered that he had 30 minutes to knock out as many people in the area as possible, and each victory would be worth 10 points. Akira began to run in search of targets, when suddenly a boy jumped in front of him. Akira prepared to fight, but the boy asked him to stop, saying that he didn't want to fight. He explained that he had set up an ambush so that he could recruit him to his team. Before Akira could understand what was happening, he saw Yuri running towards him, followed by a group of perverts. She was relieved to see him and hid behind him. Akira remained confused. The perverts said that they wanted to recruit newbies like them for the red team, while the boy tried to lead them to the green team. Since he knew that the red team was dangerous, the boy decided to buy time so that Akira and Yuri could escape. He used his ability and transformed a staff into a bow that shot infinite arrows, but the perverted old man from the red team had the ability to use the cannon. Yuri was shocked to see this and told Akira that the man had the same power as him. Because of this, everyone started to believe that Akira really did have the ability to use the cannon, and he reinforced their belief by firing a warning shot. Akira, Yuri, and the boy from the green team started to run away, while the old man from the red team tried to shoot them in the back. Akira countered the attack with his own shot, creating an explosion so large that it shook the area and gave everyone time to escape. The boy introduced himself as Sato and thanked Akira for saving his life. Akira and Yuri thanked him as well and asked about the whole red and green team thing. Sato explained that the third test involved 2 large groups. The red team was extremely dangerous, led by 2 intelligent, strong, and ruthless individuals. Akira thought it would be best to join the green team and followed Sato to their base. There, he found a well-structured settlement, with even a newborn baby, whose mother had been brought to the project when she was 3 months pregnant. Akira was impressed by the organization of the place and thought that, to keep so many superpowered people united and at peace, the leader of the green team must be someone very strong and wise. Sato took them to Yudo, the leader, who was happy to welcome 2 new members. Upon learning that Akira had the cannon ability, considered level A, and that Yuri could increase his physical strength 5-fold, an ability level A+, Yudo and Sato were euphoric, as this could change the course of the dispute. Akira and Yuri were surprised by their reaction, which was quite different from what they had imagined. Yudo explained explained that the objective of the third phase was to collect 1,000 points by completing several missions. The points served as currency to buy practically anything. Many formed small groups to survive, but the red team began to grow suspiciously, kidnapping players for no clear reason. He said that the red team did not want to move on to the next test, and so they turned that area into their own kingdom, exploiting the weakest as if they were slaves. Yudo then created the green team to fight this tyranny. In addition, there was the blue team, which remained neutral and acted only according to the individual goals of its members. Yudo asked Akira and Yuri for help in facing the red team, and Yuri immediately agreed. Akira, on the other hand, had other plans. He pointed his hand at Yudo, scaring everyone in the room, but Yudo remained calm, and Akira's cannon did not manifest. Akira was shocked, not knowing if it was because of Yudo's skill or because he himself did not fully believe in his power. Yudo said that if Akira wanted to take him hostage, he could try, and challenged him to shoot. Akira fired, but Yudo completely nullified the attack, simply smiling and asking if he was satisfied now. Yuri was furious with Akira's attitude, but Yudo calmed her down by saying that his power allowed him to block any attack. He thought Akira wanted to test whether he was truly capable of leading, and asked if he had passed the test. At that moment, a lady entered the room and informed her that many new recruits had arrived. This was good for the team, but there were not enough rooms. Akira suggested that he and Yuri share a room, which left her completely speechless. To make matters worse, she even found a protective item in the room where they were supposed to sleep together. Yuri wondered if she would finally get something from Akira that night, and he said that he had something very important to tell her, which made her hopes grow even more. Akira handed her a piece of paper, and she thought it was a declaration of love. However, the note said that his true ability was not the cannon, but telepathy. Yuri was disappointed, but Akira asked her to try to believe it. When she accepted this idea, the two were able to communicate mentally. Yuri was very excited about this discovery, but Akira said that from that moment on, she should only speak to him telepathically. He explained that he had something very important and confidential to say, but he believed that the room might be bugged on Yudo's orders. Yuri asked if he suspected the leader, and Akira replied that Yudo was very capable, so it was natural that he would want to keep a close eye on the most promising newcomers. Finally, Akira revealed that his true ability was the one the other person believed he had. Yuri had a hard time processing this, but before he could say anything, their phones rang with a video message sent by Mion. She announced that the next day, they would all have to participate in a grand ghoul hunting mission, and that they should take advantage of the opportunity to accumulate as many points as possible. After that, Akira proposed a deal to Yuri. He asked her to continue believing that his ability was telepathy, so that they could maintain mental contact and combine other tricks. When he wanted to use the cannon ability, he would simply switch the target to someone else. The next morning, Yudo gathered all the team members and explained the details of the mission. They arrived at the ruins, where Mion was already waiting for them with the ghouls. Akira was shocked to see that the ghouls looked exactly like the mummy that had attacked him in the beginning. Mion explained that each ghoul killed would be worth 30 points, and that it was forbidden to use skills against other participants. With that, she began the mission, and the ghouls advanced on the players. Members with defensive skills like Yudo blocked the attacks, while the offensive fighters took down the monsters with ease. Akira activated the cannon using members of his own team as anchors for its power and began eliminating the ghouls. At that moment, the leaders of the red team, Ikai and vice leader Kuro, appeared. They did not intend to participate in the hunt for the ghouls, but were there to weaken the green team. Upon seeing them, everyone on the green team retreated, as Yudo wanted to hide his skills from the enemies. However, the leaders of the red team had other plans. Kuro possessed an ability called Lone Shark, which allowed him to forcibly collect any debts anyone owed him. Using this ability, he forced several weak players to face the ghouls, which resulted in the deaths of many of them. Ringo was among the targets, but Yuri and Akira saved her before she was killed. They asked Yudo to rescue the others, and he agreed. He ordered everyone to save the players who were forced to fight. At that moment, Mion decided to spice things up. She snapped her fingers and released the boss monster from the ruins, which easily killed a ghoul as it left. Kuro sent some victims towards the creature, and one of the green team's tanks rushed to protect them. The monster hit him and then attacked Akira, who fired back but was also knocked down. Yudo rushed to help him and asked him to run away and rescue others, as he would face the monster himself. Yudo knew that using his power would mean revealing the team's biggest card against the red team, but there was no other choice. The monster advanced, and Yudo activated his ability, Mediator, which allowed him to conduct peaceful negotiations with the other party. With this, he nullified all incoming attacks and, when the negotiation ended, returned all the accumulated damage to the enemy, opening a huge hole in the monster's body. Yudo injured his hand in the process, and Kiro watched everything to try to understand his skill. The green team celebrated their victory, running to the leader to celebrate. However, Mion warned them that the game was not over yet. The defeated monster began to devour other ghouls and quickly regenerated the wound. He got up again, and Yudo told everyone to run away and leave him behind. Yuri refused to abandon him and ran towards him, even though the others tried to stop her. She managed to help Yudo with a kick that pushed the monster away, but he attacked again. She grabbed the leader and jumped to the side, but both of them were vulnerable. It was at this moment that Akira shot at the monster to save them. Mion was amused by the scene, and Akira silently swore that he would end this game and face her again. Yudo began to reprimand the two for their recklessness, but Akira asked him to leave everything in their hands. He and Yuri attacked the monster from both sides while communicating telepathically, but the blows did no damage. Akira then had an idea and led the monster to the ruins, away from the others. Once he arrived, he signaled for Yuri to do her part. The monster hit him hard, and everyone thought he had died. When the dust settled, Akira was unharmed and fired his cannon straight into the monster's mouth, blowing its head off. Yuri was relieved and hugged him, but the monster began to get up again. They were apprehensive, until Ikai appeared and ripped the creature's head off with his bare hands. Ikai commented that Akira and Yuri made a funny pair and started laughing. Yuri was furious that he would laugh after he had let so many people die. She attacked him, but Ikai blocked her kick with ease and threw her to the ground. Akira and Udo went to help her, but Mion fired a warning shot and stopped the fight. She announced that the mission was not over yet and that the participants could not fight each other at this time. Despite this, she was excited about the idea of a war between the green and red teams, so she proposed a special mission exclusively for both groups. The new task would be a team event, where the objective would be to capture the enemy leader, steal his device and synchronize it with her own. Ikai liked the idea and asked Kiro what he thought. Kiro said that if it was going to be an all-out war, the prize should be proportional. He wanted all the members of the green team to die if the red team won. Mion approved the proposal. Yudo tried to protest, saying that it was unfair, but Mion didn't listen. She declared that the special mission called King Hunt would take place in 7 days. When everyone was fit to fight, Akira and the others returned to the green team base, and the injured were immediately treated. After recovering, Yudo called Akira into his office and asked about his real ability. He had seen Akira get hit by the monster and wanted to know how he survived. Akira replied that his power was not the cannon, but refused to reveal any more details. However, he promised to use his ability to defeat the red team. Outside, a girl went to collect firewood and ended up meeting a member of the red team. Fortunately, Shin appeared and saved her. She took him back to the base, and everyone tensed up when they saw this strong guy entering the camp. But Akira and Yuri recognized him and assured him that he was trustworthy. Yudo also went to welcome him. When Mion made a general announcement, she announced that in 7 days, the mission that would decide which team would survive and which would be eliminated would take place. Yudo said that while it was a risky challenge, it was also a chance to defeat the red team once and for all. Akira, however, believed that the most dangerous of all was Kiro, who had managed to manipulate Mion into accepting conditions that put everyone at risk. As he walked to his room, reflecting on this, Akira was approached by Ringo, the nerdy girl. She revealed that she was also a gamer and a big fan of Akira, who had beaten her several times in her favorite game. She thanked him for saving her and became nervous when trying to talk about her ability. Although she intended to bring it up gently, she ended up telling him directly that she knew what his true power was. Akira was surprised and immediately pulled her into his room, just as Yuri was arriving. Once inside, he cornered her against the wall and asked her to explain. Ringo told her that her power was to copy up to 1/10 of another person's ability, which allowed her to discover what their original power was. She also explained that her ability required a partner, just like his, and asked Akira to be that partner. Akira asked if, since she had been a slave to the red team, she knew the abilities of the members there. Ringo just smiled confidently, and Akira felt like she had found her secret weapon. Soon after, she left the room accompanied by Bat and met Yuri on the way. The next day, Akira visited Yuri, who was now in another room. He invited her to go with him to the blue team's base, but left before she could answer. She intended to go with him, but first wanted to understand what was going on between Akira and Ringo. Meanwhile, Kuro began preparing the red team for the mission, gathering the most powerful members of the group. Rin had also joined the team, and the other members were just as powerful and insane as she was. Kuro's assistant brought back one of the slaves who had been returned by the green team. This slave revealed that he had been freed from the green team's base by an undercover spy for the red team, who had also sent a message to Kuro. The spy claimed to have seen Akira get hit by the boss monster, which led him to believe that his ability was not the cannon, but something else. Kuro believed this information and immediately went to Ikai, who was training with some ghouls. He warned the boss that in the upcoming battle, the greatest danger would be Akira. Meanwhile, Akira and Yuri were on their way to the blue team's base when he asked her to help him use her ability. She tried to believe that he had the same ability as her, but controlling it proved to be much more difficult than they expected. Akira couldn't even walk after having all his physical abilities multiplied by 5, saying it was like putting a taxi driver inside a Formula 1 car. He believed Yuri was a genius for being able to use her powers so naturally during the fight against the boss monster. He had made Yuri imagine that he had the power to teleport. Although it had worked, it had been a big risk, and Akira didn't want to repeat that kind of gamble, so he wanted to research what abilities he could use safely. First, Akira wanted to test if he could transform into other people. Yuri had trouble imagining this, so he hid behind a tree and asked her to think of someone. When she came out of hiding, Akira had transformed into Ringo. He realized that Yuri needed to clearly visualize the target in order to use this ability. He then asked her if she had chosen Ringo because she had seen her leave his room the night before. Akira decided to be honest and told Yuri that Ringo had discovered his ability and wanted to work with him. Ringo asked him to tell Yuri this as a form of reassurance, but asked him to keep his own powers a secret. Akira stated that although Ringo seemed to be on their side, he still didn't trust her completely. He said that he only trusted Yuri and wanted to hear her opinion after they found Ringo again. Soon after, they arrived at the blue team's base, where Madoka had already joined. The lazy leader of the blue team, Amoto, asked what they wanted, and Akira explained about the battle mission between the green and red teams. He was there to hire the blue team members as mercenaries in exchange for points. Amoto said that the offer was interesting, but he didn't want to pass on the information on his own. He said he would only tell the members if Akira let him have Yuri, as she was exactly his type. Akira immediately refused, saying that Yuri was worth more than 20 ordinary people. He said that if Amoto really wanted something equivalent, he should join his team and do his bidding. Amoto was impressed by Akira's determination and agreed to inform the members of the proposal, but refused to participate in the fight himself, as he believed that the green team would lose. With that, he left, and Madoka approached Akira to tell him that she had joined the red team. He wanted to become Akira's greatest rival and defeat him, but this did not affect Akira, who simply told him to do his best before leaving. They returned to the base and continued preparing for the battle. Finally, the decisive day arrived, and the green team headed to the mission site, consisting of 5 towers scattered throughout the forest. Akira and Yuri had already scouted the area and predicted that this would be the mission destination, and Yudo thanked Akira for that. The agent accompanying them informed them that the rules would be explained by the devices. Mion appeared on everyone's screens and told them that they had to steal the devices from the enemies. When the devices moved 3 meters away from their users, the handcuffs would activate and the powers would be sealed. For each player captured, they would earn 1 point. By placing the devices in the special zones of each tower, they would earn 10 points. These points could be used to force Mion to carry out orders, such as making announcements for 1 point or sealing an enemy's ability for 50 points. The game would end when the enemy leader's device was stolen. The agent then asked the green team to register their leader, and Yudo pressed a few buttons on the device. With that, the mission began. Yudo instructed everyone to capture 3 of the 5 towers and protect them at all costs. so that they could seal the enemy's abilities. The team members spread out, and Sato's group managed to capture the first tower. Another group tried to capture the second, but Ikai was there and defeated them all single-handedly. The leader of this group was in contact with the others and tried to buy time until the main attackers arrived. She drew her giant sword and began to attack him, but he had no trouble dodging. She began to tire, and Ikai held her sword, telling her to put more strength. The woman had expected this and activated her true ability, which was to manipulate the weight of the sword. Ikai was pushed by the weight, but he simply broke the weapon and kicked it away. The woman was seriously injured by the powerful kick, but Ikai said he was impressed by her strength. The sword had turned into a baton, and he returned the weapon, asking her to keep playing with him until her teammates arrived. Elsewhere, the weird old man from the red team was killing people with just a touch. A blue-haired girl was commanding drones that shot at the members of the green team, and an old blind samurai was cutting down everyone in front of him. Shin was facing Kiro's assistant. Akira, on the other hand, was facing Rin. However, she was not there to fight, but to complete a trade they had previously agreed upon. After they finished the trade, Rin tried to approach Akira, but he remained suspicious and fled. As soon as he was out of sight, Rin made contact with someone and revealed Akira's location. At another point, Shin discovered that Kiro's assistant had killed the other members of his group. He grabbed him by the neck, but the enemy used his power to shrink the handcuffs and forced Shin to retreat. She then showed that there was a steel wire tied to Shin's wrist and activated her ability to shrink the wire, cutting off his arm. Even so, Shin believed that the battle was not over and used her handkerchief to staunch the wound. In Ikai's area, he was disappointed that no one had come to help the woman with the heavy sword. He was about to finish her off when Yuri appeared and kicked him away, saving the woman. Ikai laughed, saying that finally someone interesting had come to face him. Yuri threw the woman on her side and attacked Ikai. He blocked her blows, but she used her superior mobility to get away after landing a few hits. This was Akira's plan, who had foreseen that Ikai probably had the same ability as her, and so Yuri would not be able to defeat him with force alone. Ikai tried to stop her hit and run tactic by grabbing her hand, but Akira had already told Yuri what to do if that happened. She landed a knee to the brute's face and then unleashed a series of powerful punches that knocked him down, but he got back up, ready to continue fighting. Meanwhile, Kiro believed that his spy would soon betray Yudo. However, thanks to Ringo's skills, they managed to isolate and capture the spy before he could do anything. Akira had asked her to find out if any of the red team's rescued slaves were lying about their abilities, and so she identified the traitor. Ringo managed to convince the spy that they would not lose, and he promised to talk to her after drinking some water. However, when Ringo returned, the spy was already dead, which meant that there was a second spy. Neither Ringo nor Yudo knew that the real traitor was the old lady, who was the one who killed the man. On the other side, Akira was running towards Kiro to defeat the mastermind of the red team. Before, he had not wanted Yuri to go help the sword woman, but she ignored him because she felt that he did not see her as a partner, only as a tool. So now he was alone. Suddenly, some knives flew towards him, and he dodged them in time to see that Madoka had arrived for the confrontation he had longed for. Akira activated the cannon and fired at a tree behind him, but Madoka cut the fallen tree, used the pieces as blades and threw them at Akira. Akira tried to play with Madoka's mind, but was interrupted by the arrival of the blind samurai from the red team. Thanks to Madoka's warning, Akira managed to dodge the first blow. The samurai prepared another attack, but Madoka threw some daggers at him. Madoka then proposed a truce to Akira, saying that the two of them should get rid of the samurai who was disturbing their duel. However, this was all part of Akira's plan. He had asked Rin to call the samurai to that location at the same time as he called Madoka, intending to use the impulsive delinquent as a partner. Since Yuri was not around, they suspected that the samurai had the same ability as Madoka, since Madoka's knives, which could cut through anything, had not been able to pierce his sword previously. However, when the samurai swung his sword and launched an aerial slash that cut through the trees behind them, both of them had to rethink their strategies. The samurai launched another aerial slash, and they barely managed to block it before Akira kicked up dust to escape. Madoka was confused about what kind of skill they were up against, but Akira, who had learned from Ringo that the samurai actually possessed the same skill as Madoka, kept thinking about the secret behind the aerial slashes. Madoka didn't care about it and simply asked Akira to cover for him. Madoka then launched a surprise attack on the blind samurai, who managed to block the blow. The two exchanged attacks, and the samurai managed to disarm him. Taking advantage of of this gap. Akira tried to hit him with the cannon through the trees, but the samurai responded with an aerial slash and wounded him. The samurai was certain that he would win, but Akira told Madoka to use the shrapnel. The samurai also reacted to this speech, but not before Madoka, who transformed the shrapnel into knives with her skill and kicked them towards the enemy. One of the knives pierced the samurai's head, who suffered serious injuries and died. In another part of the forest, the blue-haired girl had shot down all her opponents, but a nun, before dying, twisted the neck of a doll and threw it towards her. The doll hit the girl's leg, and suddenly the girl's neck turned 180 degrees, making her fall to the ground. However, she only got up and rearranged her neck. She was about to mutilate the nun's body when Rin appeared there and asked what her true ability was. The girl became furious and declared that she would kill Rin, as she had never liked her from the beginning. She stated that she would put all the blame on the green team, and Rin replied that she thought the same way. Rin licked her hand, which turned into a blade, but the blue-haired girl did not believe that she posed any danger. She attacked Rin, who blocked the blow, causing blades to sprout from her knee. The opponent then switched to ranged attacks with drones, which managed to injure Rin. However, Rin was only waiting for this. She sprayed drops of blood in the direction of the opponent, which turned into blades in mid-air and destroyed the drones. In the next attack, Rin caused a serious injury to the girl, who still tried to fight back. Her knife got stuck in a tree, and Rin used her own blood to hold it in place as she walked away, heading deeper into the forest. Her opponent activated tank drones, but Rin destroyed them as well. Further on, Rin found a girl carrying a box. She pierced the box, killing whoever was actually controlling the blue-haired girl. The girl carrying the box was just a slave, with the ability to create very realistic toys. She was confused by Rin's betrayal, who explained that he had made a deal with the green team. According to this deal, she would be considered an undercover spy for the winning side, which would guarantee her survival no matter the outcome. Rin then decided to kill the girl as well, eliminating all evidence against her. Elsewhere, Shin continued to face Kuro's assistant, who used the ability to shrink the distance between things. With this ability and the steel wires scattered across the field, he managed to amputate part of Shin's foot. Despite so much damage, Shin remained true to his principles and refused to use the ability granted to him without consent. In the next move, the enemy shrank the distance between them and appeared behind Shin, placing a noose made of steel fiber around his neck. He was about to kill him when the girl Shin had saved earlier flew up and knocked the assistant down. He decided to attack her first. Shin rushed to save her and was stabbed in the chest with a knife. At that moment, Shin remembered his past. As a child, he was frail and sickly, and his older brother was a highly respected wrestler. One day, they had an accident, and his brother died. His organs were used to save Shin. Suddenly, Shin saw the illusion of his older brother in his wrestling suit, who told him to use his ability. As there was now something to protect, Shin decided to do so and activated his ability, becoming invincible for 2 seconds. Dressed in full armor, he easily destroyed the steel wires. He advanced on the assistant and delivered a devastating final blow, finishing him off. When his invincibility ended, Shin vowed to use his ability and make the people in charge of that program regret having brought him there. Dressed in full armor, he easily destroyed the steel wires. He advanced on the assistant and delivered a devastating final blow, knocking him out. When his invincibility ended, Shin vowed to use his ability and make the people in charge of that program regret having brought him there. Elsewhere, Sato faced the old man with the power to destroy anything he touched. He was already seriously injured, and his arrows disintegrated when touched by the old man. Even so, Sato was willing to sacrifice himself for his team. It was at this moment that Akira appeared to help him. Sato asked him to support Yuri and kill the enemy leader. Akira assessed Sato's condition and told him to rush to the location and save the woman with the heavy sword, whom he had a crush on. Sato promised to save his crush and left, leaving Akira face to face with the enemy. Akira threw a rock, which was immediately destroyed. Observing it, he realized that the old man caused chemical reactions with his touch. The old man was impressed by Akira's deduction, but he also knew from Kuro that Akira had several abilities. Believing that Akira could not use the cannon at that moment, he decided to attack him immediately. Akira ran and hid behind a tree, from where he pulled out the blind samurai's sword. The old man, upon seeing this, believed that Akira had killed the samurai and stolen his ability. He panicked, which was exactly what Akira wanted. He copied the samurai's aerial strike and injured the old man, then took his device and eliminated him from the game. The old man asked what Akira's true ability was, and he simply replied that he had purposely let everyone believe that the cannon was not his real power, in order to create ambiguity and control the game. At the green team's base, the search for the real spy continued. Since the first spy had been killed with a knife, Ringo became suspicious of the old woman, who was skilled with bladed weapons. He tried to dismiss this thought, since the woman had been with the group for a long time, but decided to investigate her ability. However, the old woman had already acted. She tried to attack Udo with her true ability, which was the use of a cannon, but Udo was prepared. He blocked the shot and said that he always knew she was a spy. Ringo and another boy appeared, but Udo told them to stay away. He asked the woman why she was doing this, and she revealed that Ikai and Kuro were children from the orphanage where she had worked. She had failed to protect them in the past, but now she was willing to do anything for them. Suddenly, she pulled the woman's son out of the heavy sword and pointed her cannon at him, demanding that Udo throw away the device and deactivate his ability if he wanted to save the boy. Udo complied with her demand and was severely injured by her. The woman began to walk away with the boy and called Kuro, saying that she had killed the enemy leader. But Mion replied that the game was not over yet, as Udo was not the real leader. At that moment, Akira arrived, and Kuro realized that he might be the real commander of the group. Meanwhile, Ringo decided to face the traitorous woman and save the boy. But the woman used her cannon ability to keep Ringo on the defensive. Ringo was terrified, but she remembered Akira's words, who had asked her to trust in her abilities and try to copy the enemy's power. Ringo believed her and copied the woman's ability, manifesting a cannon in her own hand. Even with only a tenth of the original power, its firing rate was 10 times greater. With more confidence, she asked the woman to put the boy aside so as not to get hurt. The woman agreed, and the two began shooting at each other. In raw power, they were evenly matched, but Ringo had learned to shoot from bad soldiers and could only hit the rocks. The woman managed to get close, threw Ringo to the ground and began beating her, demanding that she reveal the identity of the real leader. Ringo refused to reveal any information, and then began to cry, saying that she would never let someone so cruel take the boy. No matter what happened, she shot the rocks behind her, causing them to crumble. Ringo stated that she would rather kill the boy than leave him in the hands of someone evil. The elderly woman panicked and began to rummage through the rubble, but could not find the boy. In fact, it was all part of a trick by Ringo, who took the opportunity to get the boy to safety under her protection. She ordered the woman to throw away her device and surrender, assuring her that this time she would shoot for real. The woman complied, but as Ringo bent down to pick up the device, the woman grabbed a rock and tried to kill her. Ringo noticed and fired at the cliff above them, causing the rocks to fall on the woman, crushing her. Meanwhile, Yuri and Ikai continued to fight, until Madoka and Shin arrived as reinforcements. They said that Akira had sent them to help her, as he was dealing with Kuro at the time. Ikai laughed at the plan and commented that the enemies had underestimated both him and Kuro. Elsewhere, Kuro had surrounded Akira with his subordinates, saying that no matter what his ability was, he would kill him anyway. Akira decided to act first and fired the cannon at Kuro, but the attack was blocked by the giant spheres of Seiko, one of Kuro's slaves. Then, another subordinate transformed the giant sphere into smaller bricks and hit Akira with them. Akira tried to fire a warning shot to scare them, but since everyone was under Kuro's ability, called Lone Shark, no one could disobey his orders. Kuro stated that he had always been in control, and Akira asked if that was what he meant when he called that place a kingdom. Hearing those words, Kuro hesitated for a moment and engaged in a pointless conversation with Akira. He said that, even though it seemed like he had been surprised, in reality, everything was according to his plan. The moment the term kingdom was mentioned, Kuro stopped his subordinates from moving, which made Akira feel relieved. This relief was recorded as a debt to Kuro, making Akira his slave. As payment, Kuro immobilized Akira's right leg and ordered his slaves to attack him. Akira was forced to use what everyone believed to be his second ability, and teleported behind Kuro to attack him. However, Kuro had already positioned his subordinates there, and they stopped him. Kuro stabbed Akira, stating that everything went as planned, but Akira replied that that was what Kuro thought. He said with confidence that he made Kuro believe that the plan was working, when in fact it was he who had set the trap. At that moment, Akira was right in front of him. These words words made Kuro believe that Akira was capable of using Yudo's ability, and he attacked him on instinct. Akira used Yudo's ability to nullify the blow and reflect the damage, preventing Kuro from ordering anything to his subordinates. The impact threw Kuro away, and the slave mark disappeared from everyone else. The people cheered, and Akira stood up, revealing that he had never been injured. He had simply used pieces of meat and books to absorb Kuro's first attack. Kuro, in disbelief, listened to Akira say that he had planned everything from the beginning. Days before, Shin had captured the first spy of the red team during an escape attempt. He told Akira, who saw a good opportunity and, with Yuri's help, disguised himself as a spy and ran to the red team's base. There, he provided information that made Kuro act exactly as he wanted. Thus, Akira also discovered his abilities. He explained to Kuro that all this time he had been in his hands, and the strategist himself admitted defeat. He handed his device to Akira and stated that although they had won that battle, they would never defeat Ikai. Akira grabbed the device and ran away, but Kuro still had another one. Meanwhile, Yuri, Shin, and Madoka acted in perfect harmony and managed to injure Ikai, forcing him to retreat. However, this awakened Ikai's hidden power. He attacked Madoka, twisting her arm before throwing him away. He then knocked down Yuri and Shin as well. When his invincibility ended, even with his arm broken, Yuri got up and decided to keep fighting. Ikai decided to tell his story. In tears, he revealed that since he was little he had been treated like an animal, and that he lived in an orphanage where the old spy worked. Kuro was his only friend, and he liked to read a book about insects forming a kingdom. The director of the orphanage was a cruel hypocrite who tortured them in secret, but pretended to be kind when inspected. He called the children insects and animals, and stomped on the book that Kuro was reading. This made Ikai lose control. Overcome with rage, he grabbed an ashtray and killed the director, thus beginning his criminal career. He then joined forces with Kuro to build the kingdom of their dreams. Yuri replied that she was sorry for everything he had suffered, but that she would still defeat him and return home, ensuring that her half-sister would not surpass her. She charged at Ikai, who also charged at her. The two exchanged punches in the air. Yuri's bones broke as she used her already injured arm. However, thanks to the impact of the punch, Ikai also suffered a serious fracture. Even so, in his state of rage, he felt no pain and continued to attack. Yuri resisted. Ikai was confused and asked if she wasn't feeling pain. Yuri shouted that it was hurting too much, and added that he must be suffering too. She imagined the two of them in their younger selves, both marked by abuse. She said that he was lying when he said he didn't feel pain, and that it was just an escape from reality. Yuri hit him again, and this time Ikai felt the pain. She apologized for not being able to save him, but stated that she wanted to end this on a good note. Then, she delivered a powerful blow to his chest. However, her ability suddenly stopped working. Confused, she was hit by Ikai, and her device fell off. Mion spoke through him, saying that the red team had used 50 points to seal Yuri's abilities. It was Kuro who did this. Before he died, he purposely freed the enslaved people and made Akira run to help his friends, to hide the fact that he had not given them the real device. Thus, he managed to trick Akira one last time. Back at Yuri's place, Ikai was preparing to finish her off, but he heard a message from Akira, transmitted by dots. Akira said that if Ikai killed Yuri or anyone else, he would kill Kuro and disappear. He then revealed that he was the true leader of the green team and proposed a duel. Ikai had already realized that Kuro was dead and that he had sealed Yuri before leaving. Even so, he accepted the challenge. Akira asked to speak to Yuri as proof that she was still alive, and she was awakened with a slap. He reassured her, saying that he would replace her, and ran to the place. Face to face with Ikai, who wanted to avenge his friend, Akira waited until he approached. He dodged the punch at the last moment and activated his ultimate skill, which he had been secretly training with Yuri's help. During training, Akira had tried several times to use her ability to multiply his physical strength by 5, but had been unsuccessful. So he decided to focus on a single punching move with this skill, reserving it as his trump card. Now, he used this strike with 5 times its strength and launched a devastating counterattack at Ikai, who was thrown away. Akira also fell, exhausted. To his surprise, Ikai got up, only to say that it had been a good game, and then fell dead. The battle ended there, and the agents arrived applauding Akira. Mion announced the end of the mission and the victory of the green team. Everyone celebrated. Akira went to Yuri, and the two exchanged a fist bump from a distance. He apologized, and she said that everything was fine. Mion then approached and informed Akira that there was one last task for him him as the winner of the mission. Meanwhile, the agents carried Yuri and the others away on stretchers, and Mion promised Akira that they would see each other again after his role as king was over. Akira went to wash his face in the stream, where Omoto appeared to congratulate him on his victory. He stated that he had seen everything and found Akira's ability interesting. Surprised, Akira wondered what Omoto's true intentions and powers were. He then decided to show it. As he raised his arm, Akira thought he could use the cannon too. Omoto confirmed this by firing a warning shot. He said he had no intention of killing him, as his only goal was to kill Mion with his own hands. He asked Akira to help him in this mission, or else he would kill him later. Knowing that Mion was watching, Omoto declared that he would take action now and said goodbye, asking Akira to meet him in the 4th round. Akira fainted soon after, and when he woke up, he realized that he was living an ordinary life again. But something was different. He found Yuri in the outside world, and she ran to hug him. Madoka, Ringo, Shin, and Rin were also outside, all wearing 2 green bracelets to remind them that they were still in the 4th phase of the project. Akira thought that nothing had changed, but at least he now had a girlfriend, and he considered that a victory. However, Mion was also outside, watching, waiting for the right moment to drag everyone back into the project. And at that moment the story ends. Leave a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more videos.